Bill de Blasio is gone and Eric Adams is in, and that must be a great thing, especially for the black community, right? The second black mayor of New York City, things are looking better for the black community. Welcome to Escaping the Echo Chamber. If you didn't know, new year, new mayor, de Blasio's termed out, and now we have Eric Adams, as some people will say, former Republican, definitely a former NYPD officer, second black mayor of New York City, and hey, things have got to be better, right? Well, not so fast. First off, just realizing that in the year since we saw just like nationwide eruption of activism, of marches, of protests centered around criminal injustice, the criminal injustice system, and police brutality, government overreach. The fact that we now have a mayor of New York City, so former cop, should make you stop and go, huh? Because I saw this coming. Number one, I saw this coming with the election of Joe Biden, and I know his record on criminal justice. But if you look at the way the media was covering everything, like as soon as Trump lost, the media started talking about crime. And I'm like, huh, what are they doing? They started pushing a narrative that like crime is out of control because it was obvious they were setting us up for, well, now we need law and order. Of course, when Trump talked about law and order, it was, oh no, he's talking about coming after black people. But when Democrats talk about law and order, suddenly you're claiming that they're not doing the same thing. The numbers would suggest otherwise. But that's why I was not at all surprised to see Eric Adams come out of a crowded primary, because I knew with the way the media was pushing, if Eric Adams wasn't the Democratic nominee and it was a Curtis Sliwa against Maya Wiley, the media, the Democratic, the left-leaning media, would have been supporting Sliwa because of his tough on crime stance. They would have undermined Maya Wiley at every chance. Now, I'm not saying that I think Maya Wiley was a great candidate. I'm just saying that because she wasn't as tough on crime with her positions, the media wasn't going to support her. But what can we expect from Eric Adams? Well, about a month or so ago, he met with Hawk Newsome of Black Lives Matter New York, and the meeting didn't go quite as well as one would have hoped. And Eric Adams basically committed to bringing back these task forces that are supposed to that they claim will clean up the city and keep things orderly. And really what it is it's the gang, the NYPD gang, asserting its dominance, and he being a former, maybe unless you never blood in blood out, he's always a member of the gang, is going to support the gang's operation and the gang's enforcement. So if you look at the street crimes unit as they existed back in the 2000s, like they were some really scummy dudes, and they did a lot of dirt. Amadou Diallo was murdered by the street crimes unit. Like they had a motto called "We Own the Night" to remind you of who Amadou Diallo was. But he's an African immigrant, and he was going to his apartment. It was late night. Going to his apartment, they hop out the car. They're in plain clothes. They tell him to come over. He goes inside the building. Mind you, once again, I said they were in plain clothes. So he goes inside the apartment building. They follow him, and then he pulls out his wallet and he's handing them over his wallet. He thinks he's being robbed. After he pulls out his wallet, they pull out their guns. They shoot. They fire 41 shots. 41 shots hit him 19 times and murder him. And they are all acquitted. That's the street crimes unit. This is the type of task force that Eric Adams wants to bring back. Things are really looking up for New York. Not to mention, there's talk about him reenacting stop and frisk. This is not going to end well for anybody. Hawk Newsome felt the same way. But a lot of people are just glad to see de Blasio gone because he was so horrible. And he was. And he is. And I say that he is because he's planning to run for governor. But I have little birdie told me something might be happening soon that might affect his chances of running for any political office again. So I hear. But people are expecting Eric Adams to be different, and I really was curious to see what he was going to do with these vaccine mandates. So New York already had the key to New York City mandate where you couldn't go to restaurants or movie theaters or gyms if you weren't vaccinated. In fact, it was if you didn't have like one shot of vaccination. This past Monday, they changed it to 2 finally. But that should let you know this was never about public health. They just wanted compliance. It was just about compliance. It was a show of compliance. We want you to bend the knee. That's it. But I digress because he was quiet on it. He wasn't saying whether or not he would support this mandate. And then de Blasio announced the private employer mandate where every employer would be required to mandate that all of their employees were vaccinated. And I'm like, why is de Blasio doing this in the last week, first of all? Second of all, that's hopefully Adams would just be smart enough to just get in day one and say, yeah, I'm not doing that. And he was quiet on it until Thursday. Thursday, he said he's not removing the mandates. In fact, he's suggested that he's going to be putting some extra stuff in place pretty soon. So if you're wondering, if you were expecting Adams to be better than de Blasio, especially as it relates to the vaccines, these unconstitutional vaccine mandates, the answer is hell no. So what does that mean? 4 years of just oppression? Well, not necessarily. So while today is his first day on the job, he actually jumped on the train from Brooklyn and headed into work. I think Monday morning is going to be a very interesting first official day of the week, first Monday of his administration for him. I think it's going to be a very interesting first Monday on the job for him. But that's just a hunch. As always, don't forget to hit the thumbs up, like, share, subscribe if you haven't already. And if you disagree, if you think, oh no, it's great, finally somebody who's going to bring law and order back to the city, somebody who can be trusted, feel free to give me the thumbs down and tell me why you think Eric Adams will be a decent mayor. I'll see you next time.